in the heart of England's industrial hub. Amidst the maze of towering chimneys and clattering machines, there existed a small cottage that was home to a family of 5. The year was 1833. The father, Thomas, worked as a weaver, his days filled with the rhythmic clack of his loom. His wife, Elizabeth, assisted him, their 2 daughters, Mary and Martha, and their son, Joseph, were too young to join them at the loom. But when the children were old enough, they, too, would be weaving, making cloth for the insatiable demands of the textile industry. Life was hard, but it was a familiar routine. That is until one day when Thomas came home from the factory with grim news. The factory owner had decided to install power looms, which would render the workers, including Thomas, obsolete. Thomas was desperate. He needed to find a new job, but skilled labor was hard to come by. With no other options, he took a job as a night watchman at a local mill, working the night shift so he could continue to support his family. Meanwhile, in a small workshop, a man named Edmund Custis was tinkering with an idea that would change the world. He had invented the power loom, a machine that could do the work of 100 weavers, producing cloth faster and cheaper than ever before. Edmund had no idea how his invention would impact people like Thomas and his family, nor did he know that his invention was about to make him a very rich man. As Edmund's invention gained popularity, factories sprang up across the land, belching smoke into the air and forever changing the face of Britain. One day, the usually bustling streets of Manchester were eerily quiet. People were gathering in the town square, their faces etched with worry. A strange illness had descended upon the city, a sickness unlike any they had seen before. People were dying, and the culprit seemed to be the very air they were breathing. It was the first recorded case of industrial bronchitis, a deadly illness caused by the pollution of the Industrial Revolution. The rich were horrified, for this was a time when the wealthy elite enjoyed every luxury that industry could provide, living in mansions with plush furnishings and indulging in all the conveniences that money could buy. They had become accustomed to a lifestyle that was made possible by the exploitation of others. And so our journey continues, a tale of 2 cities, Manchester and London. In the first, we see the grim reality of industrial life, where the air is thick with the smell of smoke and the sound of machinery. In the second, we glimpse the lavish lifestyle of the factory owners, a stark contrast to the poverty-stricken Manchester. What will you discover in these 2 cities? The answer lies in the past, waiting for you to uncover it. This is the first episode of our series. Join us as we bring history to life, weaving tales of innovation, disease, and social change during the Industrial Revolution. And if you enjoy this, don't forget to subscribe for more historical tales. The year is 1840, and the Industrial Revolution is in full swing. Steam engines are chugging, factories are belching smoke, and the world is rapidly changing. In the midst of this chaos, there's a young man named William. William is a worker in one of Manchester's many textile factories. His days are long and his work is hard. The only solace he finds is in the companionship of his fellow workers, many of whom are young women like Sarah, who left their families in the countryside for the promise of a better life in the city. As the workers toil away, they dream of a better world, a world where the machines don't grind day and night. A world where there's enough food for everyone, a world without the crushing poverty that seems to be their only inheritance. But their dreams are often cut short by the harsh reality of their situation. They're exploited and abused, their rights ignored, their safety disregarded. It's a dark and dangerous time to be alive, but amidst the gloom, there's a glimmer of hope. In the evenings, after the factory whistle blows and the streets of Manchester come alive with the sounds of street vendors and the murmur of tired feet, William and Sarah and the other workers gather in a secret place. They call it their own special spot, a place where they can be free from the prying eyes of the factory owners and the policemen who guard their every move. Here they share their stories, their hopes and their dreams. And sometimes, just sometimes, they break into song, their voices echoing the sorrow and the strength that's become their anthem. But their secret place is not safe forever. One day, the factory owner, a greedy and ruthless man, discovers their sanctuary. He threatens to have the workers arrested if they don't stop meeting. But the workers stand their ground. They've endured so much, they're not about to give up now. This is their story, a story of struggle and solidarity, of despair and defiance. It is a story that needs to be told, and it is a song that needs to be sung. So let the music play, let the drums beat, and let the voices rise in a chorus of courage. For this is the tale of the workers of Manchester, and their fight for a better world was just beginning. And that's all for today. If you like this episode, don't forget to stay tuned for more historical tales like this one. Until next time, farewell. The air is thick with the smell of oil and sweat. Men, women, and children, their faces pale and drawn, emerge from the gloom. They move like automatons, their eyes vacant, their bodies swaying to the relentless beat of the looms. The machines are gods in this temple of industry. Their metallic moans and groans a constant prayer to the deity of productivity. You've come to escape poverty, but find the city is a maze of dark, narrow streets, a labyrinth of despair where poverty's grip tightens with each passing day. The factories loom like prisons, their windows dark and lifeless. And as you enter, the noise hits you like a physical blow. The clatter of the machines, the hiss of the steam, the shouts of the overseers. It's a cacophony that drowns out any hope of peace. The work is endless, repetitive, soul-destroying. You are a cog in a vast machine, your humanity stripped away, leaving only the ghost of your former self. The hours are long, the pay is meager, and the conditions are hellish. Yet there is no respite, no moment's peace. For the machine must always turn, the wheels must always turn. And so you work, your body aching, your mind numb, until the darkness of night is your only companion. The city sleeps, or perhaps it never wakes up. To the relentless pulse of the machines, the rhythm of the city is the rhythm of the loom. It's a song without end, a lament for a lost humanity. And still, there is a strange beauty in this place of darkness and despair. In the dance of the machinery, in the fiery glow of the furnaces, in the camaraderie of the workers who, though broken, are not bowed. For here in the heart of the machine, there is a glimmer of hope, a defiant spirit that refuses to be crushed. But outside, beyond the dark walls of the factory, dawn is breaking. The sky is a dull gray, smudged with smoke from countless chimneys. And the workers, their faces pale and drawn, emerge from the gloom to begin another day in the endless cycle of toil and sweat. For this is Manchester, and this is the dawn of a new day in the Industrial Revolution. Another day, another opportunity to make something of yourself in this, the greatest city in the world. You just gotta get out there and grab it by the throat. But first, breakfast. Yeah, we don't got much of it, but what we do have is a pile of, there's some straw in there somewhere. Ah, here it is, a nice little nest egg for us to sleep on. And it smells so fresh, too. Just like the rest of the city, thick with the acrid scent of coal smoke and the faint tongue of untreated sewage. Welcome to London in 1888. You share your lodgings with a dozen others, perhaps a family of 6 in one room. They're bedding a pile of straw on the floor. The walls are damp and the single window too small to let in much light. Breakfast, if you have it, is a meager affair, a crust of bread or a bowl of thin porridge, tasting of little more than boiled oats and water. It sits heavily in your stomach, offering scant energy for the hours ahead. But that's all right, because today's going to be different. You can feel it in your bones. The sun's shining a little brighter. The birds are singing a little sweeter. There's a crispness in the air that speaks of new beginnings. You just got to get out there and grab it by the throat. But first, you got to get out of here. So you step out into the narrow, cobbled streets, slick with mud and refuse. It's a hard slog going up Whitechapel Road, past the shops shuttered for the night and the pubs just opening for the morning rush. The smell of stale waste hangs heavy in the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of orange blossom and the sharp tang of vinegar. A horse's ass kicks up, urging its owner's cart just a little faster. You jump out of the way, nearly losing your balance on the uneven stones. As you make your way through the labyrinthine streets, you pass men coming home from the pub, their voices slurred and their pockets heavy with coins. They eye you up and down, taking in your threadbare clothes and your worn-out shoes. Some spit on the ground, others shake their heads in disapproval. You ignore them, focusing instead on the prize ahead, the one that got away last night, the one that'll make all this worthwhile. The morning mist is just beginning to lift as you reach the end of the road, the Whitechapel Road, where it opens onto the bustling market square. To your right, the Church of St. Mary's, Whitechapel, its spire reaching up like a beacon of hope. To your left, the market, a riot of colors, sounds, and smells, the perfect place to start your day. What will you do next? Will you head to the market and try to make a quick profit? Maybe steal a chicken or a loaf of bread? Or will you go to the church and pray for a better life? Or maybe you have your own plans. After all, this is London in 1888. Anything could happen. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm the host. If you want to hear more stories like this, stay tuned. You arrive at the mill, a towering brick structure that looms over the street. The iron gates creak open, and you step through them, joining a stream of workers. There are men, there are women, and there are children as young as 6. The overseer watches them all with sharp eyes, a clipboard in his hand. He'll note anyone who's late. And being late, you know, means a fine, a cut from your already meager wages. The heavy wooden door swings inward with a bang, and you push past it, stepping into the warm, humid air inside. The smell of machine oil and cotton dust hangs heavy in the air. The noise hits you like a wave, a ceaseless roar of looms and spinning mules. It's a mechanical heartbeat that drowns out any other sound, that drowns out thought. You find your place at a machine, your hands already calloused from months of work. The rhythmic clatter of the machine is a familiar song to your ears, a song that tells the story of your life now. Your fingers fly across the levers and pedals, moving with a precision and speed born of necessity. You are a machine now, too, a cog in the vast machinery of industry, churning out cloth for the world to wear. The hours pass in a blur of motion. You don't notice the sun climb higher in the sky, its rays piercing through the grime-coated windows and illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. You do and feel the sweat trickle down your brow, or the muscles in your arms and back begin to ache. You are one with the machine, your body moving as if by some strange alchemy into a single entity with the rhythm of the work. But then the bell rings, its sound a jarring interruption to the mechanical heartbeat. You stop, your hands hovering over the levers as the sound echoes around you. Slowly, the other workers begin to stir, their bodies moving like puppets with stiff joints after a long performance. One by one, they get up from their machines and file out of the mill, their faces etched with the weariness of their trade. As you make your way out, the overseer eyes you again, his gaze boring into you. You meet his eyes, and for a moment the weight of his judgment presses down on you. But you hold his gaze, refusing to be cowed. Then he looks away, his lips moving in a silent dismissal. Stepping out into the sunlight, you blink against the glare, shielding your eyes with one hand. The world seems strangely quiet after the roar of the mill, the silence deafening. But within you, the rhythm of the machine still pounds, a mechanical heartbeat that echoes the song of your labor. For you are not just a worker, you are a product of the mill, your life measured in the length of its shadows. You are a weaver. Your task is simple, yet exhausting. All day long, you tend the looms that weave cotton into cloth. The machines are vast, their metal frames clattering as threads fly through them at dizzying speed. You must watch for broken threads and dart in to tie them before the loom jams. A moment's inattention could cost you fingers, a hand, or worse. The machines do not stop for you. Stories of accidents linger in the air, a child caught in a melt, a woman's hair tangled in a spindle. Such moments are spoken of in hushed tones, their consequences too heavy to dwell upon. As the sun climbs higher, the heat in the factory grows stifling. The rhythmic clatter of the looms fills your ears, a constant background noise to the shouts of overseers and the murmur of the workers. You wipe sweat from your brow, trying to focus on the task at hand. But your eyes keep drifting to the massive gears, to the whirling spindles and shuttles that seem to move with a life of their own. It's a dangerous place, this factory. You've seen the injuries firsthand, the bloody scraps of cloth, the missing fingers, the vacant stares of those who've lost more. Yet you keep coming back. Why? For the money, perhaps, or maybe it's the only work you can find. The truth is, you're trapped by the poverty that keeps you working, and the danger that keeps you afraid. You remember the old man who lost his son here, who begged the factory owner to slow the machines down, to make them safer. The owner, a rich man with a heart of stone, had refused. And so the old man had died, his last words a curse on the factory and its master. Was it an accident that took him, or was it the machines that heard his pleas and took their revenge? Who can say? The overseer approaches, his eyes sharp and accusing. You flinch at his harsh words, dreading the pain that will come later. You work faster, trying to make up for lost time, your fingers flying across the loom. But the thread breaks and you reach for it, ignoring the searing pain in your hand. The hot metal bites into your skin, but you don't care. You have to keep working. You can't afford to slow down. As the day drags on, you grow more and more weary. Your eyes burn and your hands are raw, but you don't dare stop. You're too close to finishing this piece, to earning your wage. Besides, where would you go if you didn't work here? The thought is too terrifying to contemplate. Finally, the bell rings, signaling the end of your shift. You stumble out of the factory, your body aching, your soul even more so. The sun is setting, casting long shadows on the ground. You walk on, knowing that tomorrow you will return to the deafening roar of the looms, to the dance of death that is your new life. The air is thick with cotton dust, so fine it's invisible, yet it clings to your skin, your throat, your lungs. By midday, your chest feels tight, a cough already forming. This is the mill fever workers whisper about, a condition that weakens many over time. You're allowed a brief pause for lunch, perhaps a slice of bread or a cold potato, eaten standing near your machine. There's no time to sit, no space for comfort. The overseer prowls, ensuring no one lingers. Children, some barely tall enough to reach the looms, scurry under the machines to collect stray cotton, their small frames dodging the whirring parts. Their faces are pale, their eyes hollow from exhaustion. In the corner, an old woman with dirt on her face and hands gnarled like driftwood pulls a lever, her eyes vacant. She seems to be praying, but it's just habit. Years of it have eroded any joy from the motion. For her, it's become a mantra without meaning. The rhythm of the looms is relentless, a constant back and forth, up and down, faster, faster, a hypnotic dance. It's easy to lose oneself in the motion, to let the machines will override one's own. To work here is to be part of the machine, a cog in its relentless wheel, turning and turning, taking orders from the overseer. He moves through the mill like a judge, his gaze sharp and unforgiving. He carries a whip, not for the workers, but for the mules that pull the carts outside. But the workers know the overseer's temper. A harsh word, a sudden stop, the crack of the whip echoes the threat of its sting. One wrong move and the overseer's whip might find purchase on your shoulders, leaving red welts that burn like fire. He lashes out at the mules, at the workers, anyone who gets in his way. But there's no escape from the mill. Not while the overseer walks these floors, not while the looms are kept fueled with cotton bales, not while the workers are, paid by the piece their wages dependent on the whims of the machine and the overseer's watchful eye. The air grows thick with tension, with the smell of sweat and dust, with the fear of the lash. The workers are trapped in their own private hell, a hell of cotton and steel and unrelenting toil. What is the hardest job you've ever done? The hours stretch on, each one blurring into the next. Your back aches from standing. Your hands cramp from the repetitive motion. The heat of the mill, kept high to prevent the threads from snapping, makes sweat bead on your brow. Your clothes, coarse wool or patched cotton, are damp and heavy. The noise never ceases, a constant assault that leaves your ears ringing even after you leave. By the time the whistle blows, signaling the end of your 14-hour shift, your body feels like it belongs to someone else. You stumble out of the factory gates and collapse onto the pavement, gasping for breath. The sun, a distant memory, has been replaced by the glow of gaslight. The faces of your fellow workers, grimy and drawn, are illuminated by the flickering flames of the street lamps. Some limp home, their steps slow and dragging. Others disappear down dark alleyways, their voices echoing in the stillness. You walk on, the rhythmic clatter of the looms still ringing in your ears. Your home, a cramped tenement room, is shared with other workers, their beds a chaotic jumble of blankets and rags. The stench of stale waste hangs heavy in the air, a stark contrast to the fresh linen you yearn for. Sleep comes fitfully, broken by the nightmares that haunt you. You dream of machines that never stop, of hands that bleed, and of a deafening silence that screams in your ears. When morning light filters through the grimy window pane, You rise and stretch, your bones aching in protest. The cycle starts anew. You dress quickly, pulling on your worn-out clothes and tying your scarf loosely around your neck. Breakfast, a bowl of thin porridge, doesn't stay down. You rush to work, dodging carts and pedestrians alike, your stomach growling in protest. This is how it goes, day after day, year after year, until the day you don't. The repetitive motions become second nature, the ache in your back a dull throb, the ringing in your ears a constant companion. But today, something's different. Today, the rhythm of the loom is broken by the sound of your own breaking. The thread snaps, the shuttle flies, and in that moment, everything changes. No more will your fingers fly across the loom, creating patterns as intricate as the wrinkles on your brow. No more will your feet dance to the beat of the pedals, keeping time with the relentless machine. For today, you are done. And as the factory's whistle blows, signaling the end of your shift, you know it's the beginning of something new. The question is, are you ready for it? Ah, yes, London in 1888, a time of great change and great suffering. The old ways of life were rapidly disappearing, replaced by new technologies and new social order. For the poor, life was especially hard. They lived in overcrowded tenements, ate meager meals, and worked long hours for little pay. But they had hopes and dreams for a better life. They just needed a chance to get out of their poverty. But then there were the more fortunate people, like the upper middle class and the aristocracy. They lived in relative luxury, ate well, and had access to the best education and health care. But they were also very aware of the growing unrest among the poor, and they knew that if things continued down this path, their way of life would eventually end. Ah, but what about Jack? Well, he was a bit of both, you know. He understood the plight of the poor, having lived among them for many years. Yet he also knew the comforts of a more luxurious life. See, Jack had a secret. Every night he would slip out of his tenement and live a double life as well, let's just say a connoisseur of fine foods and expensive tastes. He would frequent the finest restaurants, staying just long enough to enjoy the delicious meal before slipping away again. And so it was, Jack became known as the Phantom Gourmet, a mysterious, almost mythical figure who could not be caught. The police suspected that a member of the upper class was behind the crimes, but they could never prove it. And so Jack's crimes went unpunished, allowing him to continue his double life for many years. But eventually, as they say, the jig is up. Jack was caught red-handed, or should I say knife-handed. When they found his fingerprints on a piece of glass at one of his favorite haunts, all evidence against him. But in reality, Jack wasn't laughing. He knew that his game was over. So how did they catch him? Well, let me tell you, but you'll have to wait till next week to hear it, because time for our outro. Please leave a like and comment if you enjoyed the show, and subscribe if you want to see more historical crime stories just like this one. Until then, goodbye. The rhythmic clatter of the machines is the soundtrack to your life now, a relentless beat that echoes through the cavernous halls of the mill. Day in, day out, the same routine, the same tasks. There's little time for anything else. Your fingers fly across the looms, weaving cloth as fast as the machines can chug, and hiss, driving the wheels of industry that are turning Britain into a powerhouse of production. You came to Manchester seeking work, lured by the promise of a new life in a booming industrial city. The countryside you left behind seems a world away, the fields and farms of your childhood a fading memory. Now your world is one of brick and iron, of towering chimneys and smoke-filled skies. But you are not alone. Thousands upon thousands of workers, men, women, and children fill the mills of Manchester, their lives intertwined with the machines that drive Britain's wealth. The cloth you produce here will be used to make fine garments, you're told, and some will end up adorning the wealthy elite who will wear them with barely a thought for the hands that made them. You are the unseen labor behind the shiny fabric, your work a hidden cost in the price of luxury. The hours are long, and the work is hard, but there's a certain pride that comes from being part of something bigger than yourself, from feeling the thrum of the city around you, knowing that your efforts are contributing to its growth. And in the evenings, when the machines fall silent and the mill hands begin to leave, you can explore the bustling streets of Manchester, a city that never sleeps, where there's always the promise of something new just around the corner. Here in the heart of the Industrial Revolution, there's a sense of progress in the air, a feeling that you, too, can rise above your humble beginnings and create a better life for yourself. For all the hardship and the grime, there's also the excitement of a city on the rise, the promise of a new life, the hope that you can make your mark on the world. And so you keep working, your fingers flying over the looms, weaving the cloth that will become the finest garments, your labor fueling the engine of Britain's wealth. Though your name may never be known beyond these four walls, your work is a vital thread in the fabric of a nation's prosperity. The year is 1765. You are a wealthy property owner in London with a keen interest in making money. Your fields are already rented out to the highest bidder, and your factories are humming with the activity of machines that don't yet have names. But what else can you put to good use? Yes. There's that Newcomen engine in the workshop, an invention designed to pump water out of mines. Not much use for that yet. But then again, steam engines aren't exactly known for their speed or power. And you happen to know a thing or two about speed and power, having made a fortune in the mail coach business. You summon Thomas, your servant, and instruct him to find Mr. James Watt, a Scottish engineer currently residing in Soho Square. Tell him you'd like to discuss the potential uses of a steam engine, perhaps make a few modifications to improve its performance. You see, unlike other inventors who might be content to simply improve upon existing designs, James Watt will take a different approach. While examining the Newcomen engine, he notices that it wastes a great deal of energy simply by cooling down between uses. So he hit upon the idea of an engine that could maintain a constant supply of heated steam, an engine that could run more efficiently and for longer periods of time. Over the next 5 years, Watt tinkers with his engine, improving its efficiency and output. He also invents the concept of the horsepower, a unit of measurement derived from the power of a team of horses, which coincidentally enough is also how much your factories relied on the power of horses. But now imagine that power without the need for hay or water or sleep. Now you're on to something. In 1774, Watt patents his improved engine and founds the world's first engineering company to manufacture it. Soon enough, his engines will be powering everything from factories to canal boats. Steam engines will haul your mail, drive your factories, and propel you toward becoming the world's first industrial powerhouse. Just one problem, though. Watt never patented the ideas that truly made him famous, like the separate condenser and the rotary engine. You see, back in those days, ideas were considered property, and the free exchange of ideas was encouraged. Watt would publish his findings in academic journals, allowing others to build upon his work. In doing so, he inadvertently sparked the Industrial Revolution and changed the world forever. And you get to change the world, too, with a degree in engineering from one of the best online learning platforms in the world. You can learn more about the world's greatest inventors through fascinating articles and videos that bring history to life. In the heart of 18th century Scotland, amidst the rolling hills and misty lochs, there lived a man named James Watt. He was born in 1736 in the town of Greenock near Glasgow, but he didn't have an easy start in life. When James was just 2 years old, his father died, leaving his mother to raise him and his 2 sisters alone. But she too would pass away when James was only 10, leaving the young boy and his siblings orphaned. Despite these hardships, James showed a keen interest in how things worked. He was fascinated by machines, and tinkering with them became his hobby. At age 19, he became an engineer and started working at the University of Glasgow, where he would spend hours in the university's workshop working on his inventions. It was here that he developed his first major invention, a type of copying machine. This earned him recognition and some money, which allowed him to set up his own workshop in 1757. But it was in this workshop that fate would intervene. One day, Watt came across a model of a steam engine that had been sent to him by a professor at the University of Edinburgh. This engine had been invented by Thomas Newcomen, an English blacksmith. It was designed to pump water out of mines. As Watt studied the engine, he noticed that a lot of energy was being wasted. The engine lost a lot of its power as it cooled down, and it emitted most of its energy as heat rather than useful work. Determined to improve upon Newcomen's design, Watt began a series of experiments. He attached a thermometer to the engine to measure the temperature of the steam. He wanted to find the ideal temperature for maximum efficiency. After months of work, he discovered that by keeping the steam at a higher temperature, he could make the engine more efficient. This led to a breakthrough in 1765. On one fateful day, while working in his workshop, Watt successfully created a steam engine that produced a continuous rotary motion. This was a major improvement over the existing engines, which produced a reciprocating or back-and-forth motion. News of his invention spread, and soon Watt's engines were being used in factories, mines, and even to power boats. His invention marked a significant leap forward in engineering, and it would have a profound impact on the world. The steam engine would become the driving force of the Industrial Revolution, powering the machines that transformed industries and economies. As we reflect on the story of James Watt, let us take a moment to appreciate the quiet triumphs that often go unnoticed. For it was in the stillness of his workshop, amidst the steam and the coal, that James Watt changed the world. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support our channel, please consider making a small donation. Your support will help us continue producing high-quality content. Thank you for listening. It's easy to overlook the seemingly small things in life. Like when you're staring into a fireplace, don't you think about the steam coming off the logs, or the way the firelight dances in your eyes? But for James Watt, it was different. You see, James Watt was born in 1736 in Greenock, a port town on Scotland's west coast. His mother died when he was just 2 years old, and his father, a shipbuilder and instrument maker, doted on him, encouraging his curiosity about the world. Often he would sit by the hearth, watching the kettle simmer. The steam rising from its spout fascinated him, and he would lift the lid with gentle insistence. Those moments by the fire, those simple questions about the world around them, they sparked a passion for discovery in young James. By the time he was 18, Watt was apprenticed in London, honing his skills as a mathematical instrument maker. He worked with the best, learning the intricate art of creating compasses, quadrants, and scales, tools used to measure the world. But it was in Glasgow, as a young man in his early 20s, that his life took a decisive turn. There he met a professor of natural philosophy, a field that encompassed both physics and mathematics. Impressed by Watt's skill and insight, the professor took him under his wing, introducing him to the wonders of the Newcomen engine. These were engines that pumped water out of coal mines, a crucial task as mining became more mechanized. The professor had one such engine in his laboratory, and it was here that Watt first saw the potential to improve upon existing technology, to make the engine more efficient, to harness the power of steam more effectively. This realization set him on a new path, a path that would lead him to become one of history's most influential inventors. So while it may seem like a lifetime of invention was ahead of James Watt at this point, he was just getting started. In the next chapter, we delve deeper into how Watt's early fascination with the Newcomen engine led him to make groundbreaking improvements, transforming not only the engine itself, but also the world around him. Stay tuned to find out more. It's 1763, and James Watt, now a skilled craftsman at the University of Glasgow, has been given a task. Repair a model of a Newcomen steam engine, a clunky device used to pump water from mines. Picture him in his workshop, surrounded by brass fittings and iron parts. A model before him hissing and wheezing, inefficiently. The Newcomen engine, invented decades earlier, is a marvel of its time. But it's wasteful, guzzling coal as it labors. Watt, with his meticulous mind, sees its flaws. The engine's cylinder cools and reheats with every cycle, losing heat and fuel. This inefficiency nags at him, a puzzle demanding a solution. How can this heat loss be stopped? His thoughts race. Could a better design harness the engine's power more effectively? Days turn into weeks as Watt, driven by his insatiable curiosity, experiments relentlessly. He tests materials, adjusts dimensions, calculates and recalculates. The workshop, usually a place of order, becomes a chaotic laboratory. Tools and spare parts are scattered around him as he works. Obsessive, driven by his vision of an improved engine, he tests relentlessly. Finally, after countless trials, he hits upon a breakthrough. What if the cylinder's cooling issue could be solved by? And here comes one of history's great aha moments. By separating the condenser from the working cylinder and keeping the latter constantly heated. This simple yet brilliant idea dramatically improves efficiency. No more wasted energy, no more excessive coal consumption. The engine runs smoother, more efficiently. But Watt's journey doesn't end there. His mind, once set on solving one problem, doesn't rest even when faced with a seemingly insurmountable challenge. His next target, harnessing the power of steam more effectively. And so begins his work on the separate condenser, a pivotal moment that not only revolutionizes mining, but ushers in the Industrial Revolution. And as for the original model of the Newcomen engine, after serving as a constant reminder of what could be done better, it too undergoes a transformation, becoming the first engine to benefit from Watt's groundbreaking improvements. From a small workshop in Glasgow to the world stage, Watt's story is one of relentless curiosity and the transformative power of one man's obsessive quest for efficiency. This is a story of James Watt, the man who turned waste into power and sparked an industrial revolution. So there you have it, the incredible story of how James Watt, through his meticulous tinkering and unwavering dedication, transformed an inefficient engine into a powerful machine that changed the course of history. If you like stories like this, stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching. For months, Watt ponders the problem, his thoughts drifting as he walks Glasgow's green fields. One Sunday in 1765, the answer comes to him, clear as the steam he once watched as a boy. He realizes a separate condenser, a chamber where steam can cool without chilling the cylinder, could make the engine far more efficient. Imagine the cylinder as a man's torso, expanding and contracting with each breath, pushing the piston back and forth like a shirtless blacksmith pumping a forge. But instead of coal, it's steam that does the work. Now picture Watt in his workshop, candlelight flickering on his intense gaze as he sketches the idea that's been born in his mind. His hand, steady as the beat of a clock, draws lines that will change the world. You can almost hear the paper crackling with the energy of his thought. In a world powered by steam, the separate condenser would be like a lung for the engine, breathing in the hot exhaust and cooling it before it returns to the cylinder. This simple yet brilliant innovation dramatically improves the efficiency of the steam engine, setting the stage for its widespread adoption across industries. It's a concept so revolutionary that it will transform the very fabric of society, powering everything from factories to locomotives and ships. As Watt's paper takes shape, we see not just an inventor's meticulous thought process, but the birth of an era. This is a pivotal moment in history, a turning point that will propel humanity forward like never before. And it all comes down to one man's brilliant idea and the paper that captured it. But our story doesn't end here. There's more to come. After all, ideas have a way of shaping the world, don't they? They can inspire, innovate, and sometimes even change the course of history. Just think about the impact a single sheet of paper has had on our world. But how do you ensure those ideas are shared? Those innovations take flight. Enter our sponsor, a platform built to empower creators and bring their ideas to life. It's where stories like James Watt's come to the digital age, where the written word meets visual brilliance, where ideas find their audience. Just as Watt's drawings brought the steam engine to life, brings your stories to the world. It's where creators like you can publish their work, connect with readers, and earn money from their creativity. Whether you're an aspiring author or a seasoned storyteller, they have the tools and support to help you succeed. So Watt was brilliant, but he wasn't an entrepreneur. And the thing he needed most was money. Like he didn't have enough money to build a full-scale working model of his engine. And so he started building smaller ones, but they weren't very precise. And then he went to Glasgow to find some craftsmen to help him build these engines. But the thing was, these guys were used to making smaller things like clocks and watches, and they couldn't make the really big parts that he needed. And so Watt, he's already kind of a sickly guy, starts getting headaches, and he's just like, this is not going well. But in 1769, he actually gets a patent for his separate condenser, which is kind of a big deal. Like, that's an important part of the engine. But a patent doesn't pay your bills. You know, it doesn't put food on the table. It doesn't make the engine. And so he's still in need of a partner, someone with capital, someone who can help him build this thing and make it into a business. Enter James Craig, a Scottish entrepreneur who had made his money in sugar refining. And he was looking for a new project, something to sink his teeth into. And he heard about Watt, and he came across this, rather strange individual who was, talking about steam engines and, doing experiments and having a hard time getting people to take him seriously. But Craig saw the potential. He saw the genius in Watt, and he decided to take a chance on him. And so they formed a partnership in 1775 and set up shop in a small town called Greenock. And it was here that Watt would finally be able to build a full-scale engine and put his ideas to the test. But would it work? Was this engine actually going to do what Watt said it could do? Stay tuned to find out. So enter Matthew Boulton, a Birmingham manufacturer whose factory produced buckles and buttons. But his mind, it was set on something greater, something that would make him a fortune and change the world. You see, Boulton had a knack for spotting talent, and he had his eyes on a young engineer named James Watt. In 1775, Boulton and Watt form a partnership, a meeting of minds that will shape the future. Picture Boulton's Soho manufactory, its workshops alive with the clank of metal and the glow of furnaces. Here, Watt's designs take form, crafted with a precision previously unseen. By 1776, their first commercial steam engine is installed in a Staffordshire mine. Its piston moves with a steady rhythm, pumping water out of the mine with newfound efficiency. The mine owners, they marvel at this incredible machine. It's a triumph of engineering, a testament to the power of steam. And with costs slashed and profits soaring, word of their invention spreads like wildfire. Soon, factories across England are being fitted with Boulton and Watt engines, each one a masterpiece of design and craftsmanship. They become a powerhouse of the Industrial Revolution, their engines driving the very heart of England's economic growth. But Watt and Boulton, they don't stop there. Oh no, not by a long shot. They go on to develop the separate condenser, a breakthrough that further improves the efficiency of their engines. And with that, their fame grows. They become the go-to engineers for all things steam, consulted on projects from mines to factories to even powering a boat. Yes, you heard it right. This dynamic duo, they're taking on the mighty seas with steam power. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why is this important? Why should we care about these guys and their fancy steam engines? Well, let me tell you, what Watt and Boulton have done is nothing short of revolutionary. Their engines, they're the very essence of the Industrial Revolution, a period of unprecedented technological advancement and economic growth. These engines, they symbolize the shift from manual labor to machine power, from water and wind to steam. They are the driving force behind the transformation of society, the very engine of progress. And it all started right here in this humble workshop, where a button maker and an engineer turned inventor, they changed the world together. So here's to Matthew Boulton and James Watt, the unlikely duo who took on an industry and won. Their story is a reminder that innovation knows no bounds, that the most extraordinary journeys often begin with a single step, and that sometimes the greatest inventions are born in the most unexpected places. Just imagine if Boulton hadn't taken a chance on Watt, or if Watt hadn't had the genius idea for a separate condenser. Who knows how different history might have turned out? But because of their brilliance and their partnership, we got to witness the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, a revolution that continues to shape our world today. What if I told you that James Watt's invention was more than just a pump? No, no, no. Watt's engine is a force of nature, an unleashed power that will change the world. Just watch. First, Watt and his business partner, Matthew Boulton, adapt the engine to drive the bellows and ironworks. Soon after, they're powering mills that grind grain. And before long, they're turning the looms in textile factories, the very first machines in places like Manchester. This rotary motion makes the engine useful for countless tasks. By the 1780s, Watt and Boulton are selling engines all across Britain and beyond. Each one is a testament to Watt's original spark of insight. The partnership thrives, but it's not all smooth sailing. Watt, a cautious and methodical man, clashes with Boulton's more flamboyant and ambitious style. Legal battles over patents with rival inventors who try to copy their work drain their energy. But through it all, the sheer power of the engine cannot be denied. It drives the Industrial Revolution, making Watt and Boulton rich beyond their wildest dreams. But what comes next? What new challenges will they face? And what new opportunities will they seize? Stay tuned to find out how their story continues. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this incredible tale. Now, could you imagine a world without the incredible inventions of James Watt? His impact on history is immeasurable, and we've only just begun to explore it. Join us as we continue to uncover the secrets of his genius and the far-reaching consequences of his work. You won't want to miss a single moment. So subscribe now and stay tuned for more updates. And hey, if you're still hungry for more, why not check out our other videos? We've got a ton of fascinating content that you're sure to love. So go ahead, take a look, and see what else we have in store. Who knows? You might just find something that sparks your interest even more than James Watt's amazing story. So click that link, explore our other videos, and keep on learning. You never know what you might discover. So Watt perseveres. His life is a quiet struggle against doubt and limitation. Picture him in his later years, now wealthier, living in Birmingham, his workshop still a place of tinkering. He invents other devices, a copying press, a steam indicator, but none rival the engine that bears his name. His health, always fragile, weakens, but his mind remains sharp. By the time he dies in 1819, at the age of 83, his engines power a world transformed. Factories hum, ships steam across oceans, and railways begin to crisscross the land. The Industrial Revolution, with its mills and miseries, owes much to Watt's steady hand. You might think a story like this is all about the big moments, the eureka moments when the ideas for these inventions come to him. The famous partnership with Boulton, the triumph over adversity, and the establishment of the Watt dynasty. And those are all important. But so too are the small, unremarkable moments that make up a life. Consider Watt's routine, his daily habits and routines, the sum of which makes up a kind of quiet heroism. He gets up early, as we said, and after a breakfast of tea and toast, he sits down to work. He works all day, taking only a break for a midday dinner of meat and vegetables. No luxuries, no excesses. He eats breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day of his life. He walks the same streets of Birmingham, taking the same route each time and never varying his pace. He does this so that he can be sure of reaching his destination on time. He carries an ivory walking stick, a gift from royalty, and wears it not just for support, but also to remind himself of his purpose. Each step is a reminder of the responsibilities that come with his success. With each step, he reaffirms his commitment to his work. He is a creature of habit in the laboratory, too. He always mixes his chemicals in the same order, stirs them with the same wooden spoon, and records his results in a notebook that he keeps by his side at all times. This is not just a record of his experiments. It is a dialogue with his past self, a conversation across time. In the margins, he makes notes, not just for future reference, but also to remind himself of how far he has come. He is a man possessed, not by demons, but by an unbending will. a will to persevere, to keep going, to keep improving, to keep innovating. And that, I think, is the real story of James Watt, the story of an ordinary man who did extraordinary things. Thank you. So what's Watt's legacy? He's credited with inventing the modern world. His engines brought wealth and progress, but also the soot-filled air and grinding labor of a factory worker. They freed men from some tasks, only to bind them to others, their lives dictated by the relentless pace of machines. Watt, a man of quiet workshops, could scarcely have foreseen the cities his work would build, or the lives it would shape. His story is one of human ingenuity, a single idea rippling through time, touching every corner of the world you've glimpsed. So let's start at the beginning. How did this all begin? Well, it started with a bang, quite literally. See, back in 1769, James Watt wasn't famous. He was just a Scottish engineer, working in obscurity. But all that changed when he made one key improvement to an existing steam engine. You see, steam engines had been around for a while, but they were expensive and inefficient. Plus, they couldn't really do anything very precise. But Watt changed all that by inventing a separate condenser, which allowed the engine to work more efficiently and with greater precision. And that, my friends, was a game changer. Word of Watt's invention spread like wildfire, and soon he was in high demand. People from all over Europe came to him with ideas for how his engines could be used to improve their industries. And Watt, ever the savvy businessman, was happy to oblige. He formed partnerships with several wealthy entrepreneurs, including Matthew Murray, who helped him refine and improve his engines. Together, they formed a company called Watt and Company, which would go on to produce over 1,000 engines in its lifetime. But Watt's greatest legacy is perhaps not his engines themselves, but rather the ripple effect that they had on society. His engines helped to usher in the Industrial Revolution, a period of unprecedented technological advancement that began in Britain and spread throughout Europe, and North America. During this time, goods could be produced more quickly and cheaply than ever before, which led to an increase in trade and economic growth. But it also led to the rise of factories and mass production, which in turn led to the growth of cities and the rise of a new middle class. It was an era of incredible change and innovation, and Watt's engines were right at the heart of it. And yet, for all the good that Watt's inventions brought, they also had their downsides. The Industrial Revolution led to the widespread use of coal, which caused air pollution and climate change. And while cities offered new opportunities for many, they were often overcrowded and unsanitary. And while mass production led to cheaper goods, it also meant that workers were often treated like machines themselves, working long hours in dangerous conditions for little pay. So Watt's legacy is a complicated one. He was a brilliant inventor whose creations changed the world, but he also lived during a time when many of the world's problems were just beginning to emerge. For more about the Industrial Revolution, stay tuned. The year is 1858, and you are in London. What should be a balmy summer night is instead thick with a stench, so bad it has been dubbed the Great Stink. As the sun sets over the River Thames, the smell of 1,000,000 open sewers mingles with the waste of 1,000,000 people. It clings to the clothes on your back, the hair on your head, and soon enough it will be in your thoughts too. Here on London Bridge, the river that gives the city life is now a choking morass of filth. You can't see it from here, but if you could look below the surface, you would see the reason for the smell. That's because the River Thames hasn't run clear in decades. Since the 18th century, Londoners have dumped their waste into the river, along with the waste from tanneries, slaughterhouses, and factories. It has become a dumping ground for the city's 1,000,000-strong population, and the stench is unbearable. And then there's the heat. The summer of 1858 is an unusually hot one, and the river is at its lowest point in years. With no rain to dilute the waste, the stench becomes a thick, cloying fog that hangs over the city. For Londoners, it's a health hazard. The stench is so bad that people develop a chronic cough, cholera, and typhoid fever. Parliament is forced to abandon its business, and the stench is so bad that they have to use a different entrance to avoid the smell. Even the Queen is affected, holding her nose as she walks through London. She is so disgusted by the smell that she leaves town for the seaside resort of Osborne House on the Isle of Wight. There she stays for 2 months until the weather cools and the stench dissipates. But what caused this stench? If you've seen our previous videos about Victorian London or industrial waste, you already know the answer. But here it is anyway. For centuries, the River Thames was London's sewer. And during the Industrial Revolution, London got bigger and dirtier than anyone expected. To make matters worse, the sewage system was hopelessly inadequate. Most of the city's waste simply flowed into the river directly. And that's the real reason why the Great Stink happened. It wasn't just one thing, but everything. Everything that made London great in the 19th century also made it incredibly filthy. But this stench is also a blessing in disguise, because it forces London to fix its biggest problem. That's why the Great Stink is considered a turning point in London's history. After this summer, London gets a brand new sewer system, and the River Thames finally runs clear. So thanks for watching. If you liked this video, check out the series in the description below. Thanks. Welcome to my channel. London in the mid-19th century, a metropolis bursting at its seams. Imagine its streets. They're crowded with merchants and laborers, their wares and their waste. The air is thick with coal smoke and the clamor of progress. The city's population has doubled in 50 years, swelling to over 2,000,000 souls. Houses and factories and slums spill across the landscape, each adding to the tide of waste that flows into the Thames. The river, winding through the heart of London, is no longer a sparkling waterway, but a repository for everything the city discards: sewage, animal carcasses, and refuse from slaughterhouses and tanneries. The scent, inescapable, is a sour mix of decay and human neglect, clinging to the humid summer air. It's 1854, and Londoners are choking on the stench. The city's undertakers are making a killing, but not the kind that brings a good name. The river is so polluted that it's become a fetid, rotting soup of unspeakable things. Is it any wonder, then, that the cholera epidemic that arrives that summer is deemed a punishment from God? By August, the stench is so bad that Parliament is forced to close. All business, all social gatherings, all public transportation. People are urged to stay inside, to keep their doors and windows shut. Those who have the means flee the city. But what are the poor to do? The epidemic will take over 14,000 lives, most of them poor, most of them under the age of 5. Our story begins on the south bank of the Thames, where the river is so fouled that it has become a battleground between rival gangs of children who fight for the right to collect its bounty of discarded goods. It's here that we meet our protagonist, a young woman who ekes out a living by scouring the riverbanks for anything of value that she can sell to the junk dealer. Life is hard, but it's just another Tuesday for London's most resourceful scavenger. As she makes her way along the river, she passes the same landmarks week after week. The majestic Tower Bridge, the grand Houses of Parliament, the ornate Buckingham Palace. What do they all smell like? To her, they smell like privilege, like power, like everything she's not. She's just a poor girl trying to survive in one of the world's richest cities. And yet, like the river that flows through it, London is full of surprises. You never know what treasures you might find if you just have the nose to sniff them out. Each week brings new challenges and new discoveries as she navigates the dangerous world of London's underbelly. Will she find a lost love, uncover a deadly conspiracy, or simply stay alive? Join us next time to find out. London in the 1840s, a bustling metropolis, a cultural hub, a nightmare in the making. The city's population has doubled in 50 years, swelling to over 2 million souls. People crowd the streets, merchants hawking their wares, laborers trudging to work, carriages rumbling along, all adding to the tide of waste that flows into the Thames. The river winds through the heart of London, a repository for everything the city discards: sewage, animal carcasses, refuse from slaughterhouses and tanneries. But the stench, oh, the stench is the worst. A thick, cloying fog clings to the humid summer air, heavy with the scent of decay and human neglect. It's a smell that seeps into your clothes, into your hair, into your very being, and it's inescapable. There are other smells, too. The sweet scent of roasted chestnuts, the savory aroma of a pie shop, the heady fragrance of a flower market. But they're all competing for space in the nostrils with the smell of stale waste, of poverty and disease. It's a potent mix that hangs over the city like a shroud. Imagine trying to make your way through this olfactory assault, navigating the labyrinthine streets, dodging horse-drawn carts, pedestrians, and the occasional angry dog. The air is thick with coal smoke from the countless factories and workshops, making every cough a painful reminder of the city's grime. The sun may be shining, but you'd never know it in this murky, smoky haze. Visibility is often less than 100 yards, and the only sounds that pierce the gloom are the cries of street vendors and the distant rumble of thunder. And then there are the nights, long, dark, and even more dangerous. The flickering gas lamps do little to pierce the gloom, and the narrow streets become a maze of shadows. The stench of stale waste and chamber pots mingles with the sounds of drunken revelry and the shouts of street fighters. But even with all its grime and stench, London in the 1840s is a city that never sleeps. There's always something to see, someone to meet, somewhere to be. And if you can stomach the smells, there's nowhere else you'd rather be. Thank you for watching. And then it hit. By 1858, the situation had reached a breaking point. Picture the summer heat, unusually intense, making the river surface until the water seemed to simmer with foulness. The smell was so potent that it drifted into the Houses of Parliament. There, lawmakers covered their noses with handkerchiefs soaked in lime. Newspapers called it the Great Stink, a name that captured both the crisis and the public's dismay. The Thames had been a vital part of London's life for centuries, but now it was a fetid, frothing menace. Windows were sealed, curtains doused with chloride of lime to mask the odor, but nothing fully shielded the city from the river's wrath. The stench was so pervasive that people fell ill, their ailments blamed on the miasma, the bad air thought to carry disease. It was an epic struggle just to keep the river from conquering London. In the end, the city's pulse faltered, its confidence shaken by the stench that defined it. Would Londoners rise to the challenge and tame the river, or would they let the Thames claim another victory? It's time to test your knowledge. How did Londoners deal with the stench of the Thames? For each question, choose the correct answer. Only one answer is correct. Ready? Let's begin. Which of these events took place because of the smell of the Thames? A. Lawmakers passed laws to improve sanitation. B. People began using the river water for drinking. C. The public blamed the sea miasma for their illnesses. D. All of the above. What was the Great Stink? A. A nickname for the river. B. The name of a famous London theater. C. A series of plays written about the Thames. D. A period when the smell of the river was so bad it affected daily life. Select the incorrect statement. A. The smell of the river was so bad it made people sick. B. People used handkerchiefs to cover their noses. C. The river's smell could be masked with chloride of lime. D. The river's smell had no effect on Londoners. The correct answers are A, D, and B. Well done if you got them all right. Now it's time to take a deeper dive into the fascinating history of the River Thames. Click here to continue. Don't forget to subscribe for more engaging historical tales. Until next time. Why did this happen? The answer lies in London's growth, outpacing its systems. Picture the city's old sewers, a patchwork of medieval drains and open ditches designed for a smaller population. As London expanded, these channels became overwhelmed, emptying directly into the Thames. Cesspools, common in homes, overflowed, their contents seeping into the river. Water closets, a new invention, made matters worse, flushing waste faster than the city could handle. The Thames, tidal and slow-moving, trapped this filth, turning it into a stagnant stew. Scientists and doctors, still clinging to miasma theory, argued that the air itself was poisonous, while others began to suspect the water carried unseen threats, a miasma of misinformation, disease, and death. London's leaders considered the river too vital to the city's economy to risk cleaning. But as the stench grew unbearable and the health of the city's residents declined, they were forced to take action. Enter Joseph Bazalgette, an engineer tasked with solving one of history's smelliest problems. Bazalgette's solution, a radical departure from the old system, involved a series of interconnected sewer lines and pumping stations that would carry waste away from the city center. But building such a system in a city of London's size and age was a monumental challenge. The old sewers were a haphazard mess, a patchwork quilt of tunnels and ditches that crisscrossed the city. To make matters worse, London's population had swelled to over 6 million people, putting a massive strain on the city's infrastructure. Building new sewers meant digging under some of London's busiest streets, a nearly impossible task. Not to mention the cost. Bazalgette's plan would require a significant investment, money that London's leaders were hesitant to spend. Despite the challenges, Bazalgette and his team got to work. They began by surveying the city, identifying the best routes for the new sewer lines. Then they started digging, using a combination of new technologies and old-fashioned elbow grease. The workers dug through the hard-packed clay soil, often by hand, their only light emanating from the flickering flames of oil lamps. They worked in shifts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to keep the project on schedule. As the network of sewers grew, so did the hope for a cleaner, healthier London. But it wasn't easy. There were setbacks and delays, not to mention the constant threat of disaster. The new sewers were deep, very deep, and accidents were not unheard of. Still, the workers pressed on, driven by the promise of a better future for London. When it was finally completed, Londoners had a sewer system that was the envy of the world, a feat of engineering that had transformed the city and saved countless lives. Amid this crisis, a few voices rose with solutions. One was that of Joseph Bazalgette, a civil engineer with a practical mind. His plan was bold yet methodical. He would build a vast network of sewers to divert waste from the river. But how to build such a system without closing down the city? For Londoners, the answer lay in the very dirt beneath their feet. Imagine the scene. It's the summer of 1858, and London is in the throes of the Great Stink. The Thames has become a fetid, polluted sewer. The stench is so bad that Parliament is considering moving out of London. Enter Joseph Bazalgette, a civil engineer with a radical plan to save the day. But how do you build a sewage system under a city without shutting it down? Bazalgette's solution was both audacious and simple. Dig a series of trenches, lay bricks, build pumping stations, and carry the waste downstream to outfalls far beyond the city's reach. The scale of the project was staggering, miles and miles of brick-lined tunnels, big enough to carry off the waste of a city. By 1858, the Great Stink had forced Parliament's hand. They approved Bazalgette's plan, though the cost was so astronomical that for decades afterwards, Londoners would pay a tax to fund its construction. Work began in earnest. Laborers dug the trenches by hand, laid the bricks, and built pumping stations that would hum with the power of Watt's steam engines. It was a Herculean task, a monumental feat of engineering in a time when London was a chaotic jumble of narrow streets and stinking rivers. But by the 1860s, the work was done and London was transformed. The once foul Thames was now clean enough to supply drinking water to the city, and the vast network of sewers that Joseph Bazalgette had built was a triumph of public health engineering. For a time, the threat of cholera and typhoid was lifted from the city. Londoners could now walk the streets or ride the new railways without fear of contamination. The Great Stink had been vanquished, and in its place, a new era of sanitation and public health had begun. And that's all we have for you today. Oh, but wait, there's more. Did you know that the average person has over 100 billion bacteria in their gut? These bacteria are essential for our health and well-being, helping us to digest food, produce vitamins, and even protect us from disease. The year is 1858, and London is stinking. To escape the stench, an air of panic and desperation settles over the city. People flee to the countryside, boarding trains by the thousands. But the Great Stink is more than a logistical crisis. It's a moment of awakening. For decades, Londoners have debated how such a modern city could be so dirty. Pamphlets and editorials back and forth, back and forth. Scientists like John Snow, who linked cholera to contaminated water, begin to change the minds of the public. They challenge the miasma theory, the idea that diseases are spread by bad air. And they point to the Thames, once a symbol of London's progress, now a mirror reflecting the grim reality of unchecked growth. The stink forces London to confront its waste, not just in the river, but in its streets and homes. By the 1870s, Bazalgette's sewers are complete. London is transformed into a model for urban planning and public health. The Thames, though it will never be pristine again, begins to turn the corner. Its waters, less burdened by the city's waste, reflect a new awareness dawning in London. A new awareness that will make the river cleaner and the air sweeter. A new awareness that the world is round. From the very beginning, the Thames has been a working river, a lifeblood for an ever-growing city. But with growth comes waste. And by the 19th century, Londoners are producing a staggering amount of it, a whopping 4 million pounds of solid waste every year. All of it eventually makes its way to the Thames, along with the wastewater from 2.5 billion gallons of industrial runoff. The river is a fetid, putrid mess. People can't even pass by it without holding their breath. In 1858, the stench reaches a fever pitch. It's summertime, and the heat is unbearable. Then the wind shifts, and the people of London are met with the smell of stale waste. It's so bad that Parliament is evacuated, and the House of Commons doesn't meet for days. Londoners fly the city. Trains headed out of town are packed to capacity, but no one wants to stay. People spend the night on the trains rather than face another day in the city. By the 1870s, London was ready for a change. The sewers are finally complete, Bazalgette's masterpiece. They carry waste away from the city and out to sea, preventing it from making its way to the Thames. London transforms itself from a city that stinks to a model for urban planning and public health. Cleaner water and a healthier life are within reach. But the Thames will never be the same. Industrialization and urbanization have changed the relationship between city and river. The struggle to keep the Thames clean isn't over, but a new era has begun, the age of awareness. We'll see you next time. This is the River Thames in London. This is one of the most iconic rivers in the world. And for 5 days in August of 1858, it also smelled like dirty socks. It wasn't just a mildly unpleasant odor. It was so bad that Parliament had to be evacuated, and people fled the city in droves. It became known as the Great Stink. But what caused it has been a mystery for 165 years. Until recently, we thought we knew the cause, that it was a combination of hot weather, low water levels, and the sheer volume of waste that the river was carrying. Londoners at the time were adamant that the sewage and industrial waste polluting the river was the culprit, and that was never disputed until now. A new study suggests that while those things did play a role, there was something else at work, something more sinister. As the water level receded, the decomposition of organic matter on the riverbed increased, producing gases like hydrogen sulfide. And when that hydrogen sulfide reached the surface, it created an odor so putrid that it killed a man. But here's the thing, because this happened so long ago, we can't say for sure what caused the stink. There are other theories out there, like the fact that London was having a massive rat problem at the time, or that algae blooms were to blame. And without more evidence, we can't know for sure. But what we do know is that whatever the cause, the effects were real. The Great Stink pushed London to the edge, forcing the city to confront its own ambition and consider what it would do next. See, London in the 1800s was in a bit of a pickle. It was a city on the brink of greatness, but it was held back by its own waste. The river that made it great was now threatening its very existence. And so it was forced to make a decision, either invest in modern sanitation or watch the city die. Thankfully, it chose the former. And today, London is a cleaner, healthier place because of it. As you stand on that bridge looking out over the Thames, remember the stench that preceded you. Remember the quiet courage of those who came before you, who faced a stinking river and built a better city because of it. Because progress isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet and it smells bad. The year is 1866, and London is in the grip of the Great Stink, an unbearable stench arising from the River Thames. The source, human waste. The solution, a new sewer system. But while the city's poor suffer through the smell, and the wealthy flee to the countryside, a young girl named Helen is looking forward to the rain. See, rain means her father won't have to work. You see, Helen's papa is a factory owner. Her family has made a fortune from the Industrial Revolution, but now the air and the water are turning against them. The Thames is too polluted to use for cleaning, so her mama has taken to buying bottled water. But that is just a small price to pay for the luxury of living in a town like this. In fact, these days, it feels more like a playground than a town. See, the river's not the only thing getting cleaned up. Since the invention of the steam engine, rivers have been turned into chains of power. Factories built along their banks have harnessed flowing water to turn their gears, and with those gears, they've churned out everything from textiles to steel, making fortunes in the process. And towns like these have sprung up around them, filled with the workers needed to keep those factories running. But as you can imagine, having a workforce dependent on your factory for jobs and a place to live gives you a lot of control over those people. In fact, this whole town was built by my family, says Helen's father, Joseph. These houses, the school, even the church. My workers and their families have nowhere else to go, and that gives us leverage over them, leverage they'll soon need. Joseph's business is in peril. The river's pollution has made his workers sick, and the local priest is demanding a change. Now he could move his factory to a different river, but that would mean leaving this town, selling his workers' homes, and breaking up the community he's built. So instead, he's betting on a new technology to save him, the same technology that will allow him to keep profiting from the very water that's hurting his workers. That's right. My family has discovered how to clean the river, says Helen, or at least to make it look clean. You see, the Thames isn't dirty. It's just full of stuff. If you take out all the stuff, then the water's as pure as the driven snow, or at least it seems that way. And with that, the family tosses a switch, plunging the room into darkness. Outside, the night is alive with the sounds of industry, the clanging of machinery, and the shouts of workers. It's loud, it's dirty, it's dangerous. But as long as the water keeps turning, it's also profitable. And that, more than anything, is why they do it. So what's Watt's legacy? He's credited with inventing the modern world. His engines brought wealth and progress, but also the soot-filled air and grinding labor of a factory worker. They freed men from some tasks, only to bind them to others, their lives dictated by the relentless pace of machines. Watt, a man of quiet workshops, could scarcely have foreseen the cities his work would build, or the lives it would shape. His story is one of human ingenuity, a single idea rippling through time, touching every corner of the world you've glimpsed. So let's start at the beginning. How did this all begin? Well, it started with a bang, quite literally. See, back in 1769, James Watt wasn't famous. He was just a Scottish engineer, working in obscurity. But all that changed when he made one key improvement to an existing steam engine. You see, steam engines had been around for a while, but they were expensive and inefficient. Plus, they couldn't really do anything very precise. But Watt changed all that by inventing a separate condenser, which allowed the engine to work more efficiently and with greater precision. And that, my friends, was a game changer. Word of Watt's invention spread like wildfire, and soon he was in high demand. People from all over Europe came to him with ideas for how his engines could be used to improve their industries. And Watt, ever the savvy businessman, was happy to oblige. He formed partnerships with several wealthy entrepreneurs, including Matthew Murray, who helped him refine and improve his engines. Together, they formed a company called Watt and Company, which would go on to produce over 1,000 engines in its lifetime. But Watt's greatest legacy is perhaps not his engines themselves, but rather the ripple effect that they had on society. His engines helped to usher in the Industrial Revolution, a period of unprecedented technological advancement that began in Britain and spread throughout Europe, and North America. During this time, goods could be produced more quickly and cheaply than ever before, which led to an increase in trade and economic growth. But it also led to the rise of factories and mass production, which in turn led to the growth of cities and the rise of a new middle class. It was an era of incredible change and innovation, and Watt's engines were right at the heart of it. And yet, for all the good that Watt's inventions brought, they also had their downsides. The Industrial Revolution led to the widespread use of coal, which caused air pollution and climate change. And while cities offered new opportunities for many, they were often overcrowded and unsanitary. And while mass production led to cheaper goods, it also meant that workers were often treated like machines themselves, working long hours in dangerous conditions for little pay. So Watt's legacy is a complicated one. He was a brilliant inventor whose creations changed the world, but he also lived during a time when many of the world's problems were just beginning to emerge. For more about the Industrial Revolution, stay tuned. Welcome to the third episode of our immersive audio drama. The year is 1840, and you are a recently wed young woman moving to Manchester with your husband, who has just taken a job in one of the booming textile factories. Your new home is a cramped 2-room tenement with no running water and a shared yard with your neighbors. Life here is hard. The work is dangerous, and the pay is barely enough to keep you in food and out of debt. And so when your husband's boss offers him a promotion, a chance to become a junior partner in the company, in exchange for spying on the workers and breaking up any hint of dissent, he accepts. Torn between your love for him and your loathing for the injustice of it all, you try to persuade him to turn down the offer. But he is resolute. This is his chance at a better life, and he won't let it slip through his fingers. And so you stand here on the cusp of a new life, watching your husband disappear into the sprawling complex that is your new home. Where will you go from here? To help you decide, here are your choices. You could A, sneak into the house and search for a way to improve your living conditions. Or B, head to the market to see what food staples cost in this wealthy neighborhood. Type A or B into the chat to choose your path, and we'll see where your story goes next. But first, a word from our sponsor. Now back to your story. The decision is yours. Do you want to A, sneak into the house, or do you want to B, go to the market? You've just arrived at the home of one of the richest families in the city. As you cross the threshold, the air shifts, carrying the faint scent of beeswax polish and fresh flowers arranged in crystal vases. The entrance hall is grand, its marble floor echoing softly under your steps. Its walls are adorned with oil paintings of pastoral scenes, fields and rivers untouched by the smoke of industry. A mahogany staircase curves upward, leading to private quarters where the family's life unfolds. You're welcomed by a servant, one of many who move silently through the house, their presence a constant hum of activity. The contrast with the mill worker's damp tenement is stark, a reminder of the chasm between those who labor and those who profit. The family you've come to visit is the very definition of upper class. For generations, they've built their wealth on the backs of the working poor, yet they've managed to keep their business dealings hidden from the public eye. Whispers of their name carry an undercurrent of unease, a reputation for ruthlessness and an uncanny ability to stay one step ahead of the law. Despite their shady dealings, they've cultivated an image of refined culture and sophistication. Their drawing rooms are filled with the finest European art, and their gardens are the talk of the town, designed by a famous landscape artist to provide the family with an oasis of calm in the heart of the bustling city. It's no surprise that their children have been raised to follow in their parents' footsteps. The eldest son, groomed for greatness since birth, has a natural charisma that hides a calculating mind. He's skilled in the art of persuasion, able to win over even the most skeptical of investors. His younger brother, on the other hand, is the family's wild card, a charming rogue with a taste for fast cars and even faster women. The sisters are a different breed altogether, beautiful and intelligent, with a keen understanding of the family business. They may seem like the typical débutantes, interested only in parties and finding a good husband, but beneath their demure exterior lies a ruthless ambition. As you make your way through the house, you can't help but feel like a pawn in a game of high-stakes chess, each family member carefully positioned to further the family's interests. The servants whisper behind your back, their eyes darting nervously between you and their employers. You're an outsider here, a journalist seeking to uncover the truth about this enigmatic family, and they'll do anything to keep you from exposing their secrets. But you're not easily intimidated. You've come too far to turn back now. The story you're about to uncover will make or break you, and you're not afraid to risk it all. When the morning light first touches your eyelids, you know it's time to rise. Your day begins in a dining room, tall windows reaching for the sky to capture the sun's first kiss. The heavy wooden table is set with the finest bone china, each plate a pristine canvas for the culinary delights that await. Silver cutlery gleams under the soft glow of a crystal chandelier, reflecting the vibrant colors of the floral wallpaper. You take your place among the family, perhaps beside a handsome husband and a beautiful wife, their crisp linen and silk dresses rustling softly as they pour tea from a silver pot. Across from you, children dressed in their finest clothes listen intently as their parents discuss the day's prospects. Business deals are struck, social engagements are planned, and the latest railway venture is debated with a fervor. The children, their futures secured by their father's wealth, listen quietly, absorbing the lessons that will serve them well at their private tutors or prestigious boarding schools. A sumptuous breakfast is served, a feast for both the eyes and the stomach. Poached eggs with runny yolks, smoked fish from the lemon sea, fresh bread with glistening pats of golden butter, and bowls of steaming porridge. Every bite is a rich, decadent experience, a world away from the bland porridge of the mill worker's morning. The taste lingers on your tongue, a luxurious prelude to a day of leisure and refinement. As the meal draws to a close, you glance at the children. They are the next generation, their lives mapped out in advance like the intricate patterns on the fine bone china. They will travel the world, collecting the finest art and experiencing all that Europe has to offer. Their days will be filled with music, art, and the pursuit of knowledge, for their father can afford to send them to the best tutors and schools. They will meet other children from wealthy families, their lives as gilded as their clothing, and they will form lifelong friendships that will open doors to even greater opportunities. For a fleeting moment, you envy their innocence, their futures unburdened by the worries that weigh upon your own. Then, with a gentle smile, you shake off the thought. Their time will come, you remind yourself, as they finish their breakfast and prepare to start their day. For now, it is your time to shine, to make the most of the opportunities that have been afforded to you. As the family rises from the table, you straighten your dress and adjust your hat, ready to embrace the day with the elegance and grace that befit a lady of your station. Ah, the life of a factory owner during the Industrial Revolution. Just picture it. It's the year 1830, and you, my friend, are the proud proprietor of a thriving textile factory. The air is thick with the scent of fresh cotton, and the rhythmic clatter of looms fills your ears. Your workers, mostly women and children, are toiling away at the machines, their nimble fingers flying across the levers and pedals. As the owner, your mornings begin in your cozy wood-paneled study. Surrounded by shelves laden with leather-bound books on commerce and engineering, you sit at your polished desk, a cup of strong coffee in hand, poring over ledgers that track the output of your mills. The numbers dance before your eyes, bales of cotton woven into cloth, shipped to distant markets in London, India, or America. Your wealth grows not just from textiles, but from investments in railways, canals, and even steamships, powered by engines like those of James Watt. The Industrial Revolution is your oyster. Its innovations are rising tide, lifting your fortunes. But the work is not all sunshine and roses. There are letters from overseers hinting at unrest in the mills, workers demanding shorter hours or higher wages. You read these missives, your brow furrowing with each line. The plight of the workers is a problem you must solve, but how? For every worker toiling in your mill, there are dozens more outside, their mouths open in silent screams, their hands raised in desperate pleas. They are the unseen, the unheard, the very lifeblood of your empire of industry. The sun climbs higher in the sky, casting long shadows across your study floor. The time for decisions is now. Will you heed the workers' cries, or will you sacrifice their well-being for even an hour as extra profit? The fate of your workers, their families, their very lives hang in the balance. And as the owner, the responsibility weighs heavily upon your shoulders. In this moment of contemplation, you, the player, must decide the course of your workers' lives. Will you be remembered as an enlightened benefactor or a ruthless capitalist? The choice is yours. Make it wisely. And that, dear friends, is the predicament of a factory owner during the Industrial Revolution. A time of great wealth and power, yes, but also of great responsibility and moral quandaries. How will you, the owner, navigate these choppy waters? Will you favor progress over people or find a balance between the two? Only you can answer these questions. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the family's day began. Theirs was a world of leisure, a luxury unimaginable to those toiling in the mills. Picture the wife in the drawing room, its walls papered in delicate floral patterns, its furniture upholstered in the finest velvet. Here she would host her tea gatherings, receiving other factory owners' wives, perhaps a local clergyman. They would sip their tea from fine-boned china, discussing the latest fashions from London or the upcoming charity event, all the while acutely aware of the social rank of those around them. Every gesture was calculated to maintain their status, every word carefully chosen to advance their interests. Meanwhile, you, the patriarch of the family, might ride out to inspect a new factory site, your horse's hooves clipping along a gravel path, the countryside dotted with the chimneys of your mills, a testament to your creation, your legacy. But as the day wore on, the idyllic scene began to crack. For those in the mills, the sun's climb meant only one thing: the scorching heat of another sweltering summer day. The air thick with the smell of sweat and grime, the rhythmic clatter of the machines, a relentless soundtrack to their misery. And then there were the children, their tiny bodies dwarfed by the looms, their nimble fingers flying across the threads. For them, the day began with the promise of a penny earned, a small measure of independence in a world that offered little. But as the hours passed, the romance of their labor faded, replaced by the grim reality of their lot in life. For the family in the drawing room, the afternoon might end with a game of chess by the fire, a test of wit and strategy, a battle of intellect. But for those in the mills, the afternoon stretched on, an endless expanse of tedium and exhaustion. As the sun began its slow descent, the family might gather for a final game before dinner, a leisurely stroll through the gardens, the scent of roses heavy in the air, the sound of bird-song, a sweet accompaniment. But for those in the mills, the evening brought no respite. The flickering gaslight illuminating the grime and the weary faces, the silence broken only by the sigh of the machines and the scrape of their feet as they moved from loom to loom. Theirs was a world of stark contrasts, a reminder that in the Industrial Revolution, as the sun rose and set over the mills, the fortunes of many were made and unmade. And as the day drew to a close, the family in the drawing room, comfortably ensconced in their world of privilege, had no inkling of the struggles of those who made their fortune possible. As the evening wore on, the dinner grew grander, rivaling the splendor of the morning. A long table groaned under the weight of dishes, each one a masterpiece. Crystal glassware shimmered, catching the soft candlelight that danced in its depths. The first course arrived, a succulent roast beef, its aroma mingling with the scent of glazed vegetables. Each dish that followed was a testament to your wealth and power. Puddings dusted with sugar, fruits poached in their own juices, a feast fit for royalty. From a nearby room, the strains of music drifted in, a young girl playing the pianoforte, her nimble fingers dancing across the keys. Your daughter, you think, a vision of sweetness and light, trained in the accomplishments expected of her station. Yet even here, in this intimate glow, the outside world intruded. A guest, his face grave, spoke of strikes in the neighboring textile mills. The workers, it seems, have found their voice, their discontent growing louder with each passing day. You've heard their demands: more rights, better working conditions, a fairer share of the profits. But their audacity knows no bounds. They've even circulated pamphlets calling for reform, signed by a man with the unlikely name of Chartist. Your daughter, ever dutiful, has brought you news of this growing unrest. She calls them the Chartists, a dangerous lot, a blight on the king's peace. You know that she fears not only for your family's sake, but for her own. A pretty, well-to-do girl like her could make a good match with one of your business associates, a young man of good family and even better means. But these Chartists, they threaten to disrupt everything, to sully the very foundations of society. You nod, assuring your guests that order will hold, that the prosperity of this kingdom is built on more than the grumbling of a few discontented workers. But as the night deepens, the unease lingers, a dissonant note in the music, a shadow on your prosperity. For even here, in the heart of London's finest homes, the whispers of discontent have found their way in. And as you sit surrounded by your wealth and power, you can't help but wonder if the rising tide of unrest will eventually engulf even you. The family is retired to the drawing room. Cards are dealt, and the fire is crackling in the marble hearth. The warmth is a stark contrast to the mill worker's cold tenement where sleep comes on straw pallets. Upstairs in your bedroom, a four-poster bed is draped in damask. A feather mattress cradles you. Servants have warmed the sheets. The air is thick with the faint scent of lavender. You drift towards sleep, but the distant hum of your mills is a constant reminder. It is the sound of your empire, yes, but also of its fragility. Those workers you saw earlier, their lives were a glimpse into the darkness that can consume us all. Their discontent, a risk you can't afford to ignore. The Industrial Revolution has brought you great wealth, but at what cost? You built your fortune on the backs of the working class, their lives sacrificed to the rhythm of the machines. Ah, but it's just a game, a necessary evil to keep the money flowing. You tell yourself, as you lay in your luxurious bed, the very same bed that was warmed by servants just moments before. The irony is not lost on you. You know that the wealth you've acquired has come at a cost. But the alternative, poverty and ruin, is a fate worse than death for you and your family. The fire crackles again, and you pull the covers tighter around you. Outside, the wind howls, a mournful sound that echoes the cries of the workers, whose lives have been upended by the very industry that sustains them. You close your eyes, trying to shut out the sound, but it seeps into your dreams, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurks at the heart of your gilded cage. In the morning, you will wake, and the sun will shine through the stained glass windows, painting the room in hues of red and gold. You will rise and dress in the finest fabrics, and the weight of your empire will settle heavily on your shoulders. For you are a king in a castle of your own making, and the people are the pawns in your game of economic conquest. And as the wheels of industry turn, you must ask yourself, at what cost? Here in my humble abode, I am surrounded by the fruits of my industry. Polished surfaces glisten in the firelight, reflecting the flames that dance upon the hearth. Above me, chandeliers cast intricate patterns on the Persian rugs below. All around me are reminders of a world I have built, a world of luxury and comfort, of progress and prosperity. For I am the owner of a factory, a titan of industry. My machines run day and night, their rhythmic clatter a lullaby to the weary masses. They do the hard, dangerous work, allowing me and my kind to live lives of leisure and luxury. My workers may toil in smoky, poorly ventilated workshops, their bodies aching from long hours spent in uncomfortable positions. But here in my mansion, I am surrounded by the blessings of civilization. My home is a monument to the triumph of industry, a celebration of the machine age. For it was with machines that I built my fortune, and to machines I owe my comfortable existence. Men like Watt, with his groundbreaking invention of the steam engine, who saw the potential to harness the power of steam to do work. His invention, a symphony of gears and pistons, has allowed us to mechanize the production process like never before. It has brought efficiency and productivity to the world, and with it, untold wealth and comfort to those who own and operate these machines. The wealth that I enjoy is a delicate balance, sustained by the labor of thousands and the ingenuity of men like Watt. But I sense a growing unease among the masses, a restlessness that threatens to disrupt the very foundations of our society. For while my workers may be toiling away in obscurity, they are also stirring. They are beginning to question the system that keeps them poor while the likes of me grow fat. Ah, but how can I stop them? How can I prevent this unrest from spilling over into my world of luxury? How can I protect my comfortable existence and the very way of life that I have come to cherish so dearly? For I am the owner of a factory, a titan of industry, and this is my world. The factory owner, he sits in his high-backed chair behind his large desk. Outside, the last rays of sun slant through the grime-coated windows, painting dust motes in the air like tiny dancers. He watches them for a moment, a faraway look in his eyes. Then he turns back to his work, his face etched with the lines of a life well lived, a life of industry and toil. His factory, a monument to progress, stands as a testament to his vision and hard work. Within its four walls, countless workers have found their livelihoods. Their world, much like his, was part of a larger tapestry, woven from the threads of progress and struggle. As we prepare to leave this era, let's reflect on what these stories tell us and ease our way back to the present. He picks up a piece of machinery, turning it over in his hands. Each gear and cogwheel is a memory, a reminder of a bygone era when steam powered the world and machines roared with raw, untamed power. But amidst the rumble and clatter, there was beauty, a ballet of pistons and pulleys that sang a song of industry and innovation. His fingers, gnarled and strong, traced the contours of the machine. They are the hands of a craftsman, a builder, a man who once turned raw materials into finished products with his bare hands. Now those hands are steadier, more deliberate, guiding his empire from the shadows. The factory, it's not just a building. It's a microcosm of society, a place where people from all walks of life come together to create something greater than themselves. For him, it's a labor of love, a dedication to the craft that has defined his life. As the sun dips below the horizon, the factory comes alive with the rhythmic clang of hammers and the hiss of steam. The workers, they are the backbone of this operation, their sweat and toil creating the wealth that drives the city's growth. In their calloused hands, he sees his own reflection, younger, perhaps, but just as determined. The city, it sprawls around the factory, a concrete jungle of towering buildings and bustling streets. It's a place of opportunity, a magnet for dreamers and schemers, a crucible where fortunes are made and lost. He's watched it grow from a small town into a metropolis, and he's played his part in that growth. But now, as the era draws to a close, he feels the weight of his decisions, the impact they've had on the city, on the workers, on the world. He's not just a factory owner. He's an innovator, a pioneer, a man who dared to dream big and make it happen. And yet, despite the triumphs, there are regrets, decisions that haunt him, mistakes that could have been avoided. If only he'd listened to the workers. If only he'd heeded the warnings. If only he'd known. But time, it marches on, and there's no turning back. The factory, it's more than just a business. It's a legacy, a family, a way of life. And as the era ends, he knows that his story, like the city's, will be written by the workers, the inventors, the dreamers, and the schemers, the ones who dared to imagine a world powered by steam and steel. So he sits in the fading light, surrounded by the ghosts of his past, and he waits for the next chapter to begin. Now, as the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows on these streets, it's time to turn back the clock. Your journey through time is coming to an end. The Industrial Revolution has reshaped the world, and now it's time for you to step back into your own era. But the echoes of the past linger, and the changes you've witnessed may stay with you long after you leave. The rhythmic clatter of the machines fades into the distance, replaced by the gentle hum of a different age. You find yourself standing at a crossroads, the path behind you leading to the smoky depths of the Industrial Revolution, and the road ahead stretching into the unknown. As you take your first step forward, the sounds of the modern world begin to fade, giving way to the haunting melody of a bygone era. The air grows thick with the scent of coal smoke and the metallic tongue of industry. In the distance, you hear the muffled roar of a locomotive, its rhythmic chugging a steady pulse in the symphony of the city. You spot a group of workers making their way home, their faces etched with the grime of the day's labor. Their clothes, a patchwork of faded fabric and leather, speak of long hours and hard work. The rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer echoes through the narrow streets, each stroke a testament to a skill honed through years of practice. The air is alive with the hiss of steam, escaping pipes, and the murmur of a bustling marketplace. As you venture deeper into this labyrinth of time, the sounds of the Industrial Revolution envelop you, weaving a tapestry of noise and industry. The low rumble of machinery blends with the shouts of street vendors and the clatter of horse-drawn carts. You feel the weight of history pressing down on you, the legacy of an era that has shaped the world you now inhabit. But amidst the din, there is a haunting beauty, a melancholic melody that lingers in the air. It's the song of a time gone by, a requiem for a way of life that has vanished with the smoke and the steam. The sun begins its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The rhythmic cycle of day and night continues, oblivious to the turmoil and change that grips the world. The sounds of the Industrial Revolution blend with the quiet sigh of the evening breeze, creating a haunting nocturne that echoes through the ages. It's a reminder that even in the midst of progress and change, there is a timeless rhythm to life. And as you stand here at the cusp of a new era, you can't help but feel a sense of awe and wonder at the relentless march of time. Your journey through the Industrial Revolution has come to an end, but the echoes of its impact will continue to resonate throughout history. You know, I've been thinking about how we tell the story of the Industrial Revolution. On the one hand, it's a tale of incredible progress, of human ingenuity that reshaped the earth and unleashed unprecedented changes on the world. But on the other hand, it's a story of great suffering, of lives cut short or broken by the very progress that made it possible. And that's not even considering the immeasurable damage done to the environment. So how do we make sense of an era that was both so remarkable and so relentless? How do we capture its contradictions and complexities without oversimplifying or sanitizing the past? It's a challenge that historians have grappled with for generations, and it's one that I feel acutely aware of as I sit down to write. For the past few years, my team and I have been working on a project that brings the 19th century to life through the stories of real people. Their experiences, hopes and dreams, fears and struggles, all brought to light through the extensive research and writing of our historians. We've created something we hope will engage and enlighten people about this pivotal era in history. But I'm also mindful of the potential pitfalls of historical storytelling. We can't afford to be complacent or self-indulgent. We have a responsibility to be accurate, nuanced, and sensitive to the weight of the past, So here's what we're doing. First, we're centering the stories of ordinary people, the workers and their families, who were at the heart of the Industrial Revolution. Their lives were the ones most affected by the sweeping changes that reshaped society, and yet they're often overlooked in traditional historical accounts. Second, we're exploring the full range of their experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're not shying away from the harsh realities of life in the 19th century, but we're also not ignoring the triumphs and innovations that defined it. Third, we're using a variety of sources to give voice to these stories. Everything from personal letters and diaries to government records and newspapers. This allows us to paint a richer, more textured portrait of the past and lets the voices of the time speak for themselves. These stories, woven together, paint a picture of an era both remarkable and relentless. The 19th century was a time of progress when human ingenuity reshaped the earth. But it was also an age of struggle, where the benefits of that progress were unevenly shared. The machines that powered factories lifted some to riches while others toiled in their shadows. The cities that grew in their wake became marvels of modernity, yet grappled with the consequences of their own growth. Each life, whether spent at a loom, a drafting table, or a mahogany desk, was part of this vast transformation, a thread in the fabric of history. And it's up to us to make sure that those stories are heard. That's why I am so grateful to be part of this project and to have the opportunity to share these stories with you. I hope you find them as fascinating and thought-provoking as I have. Because in the end, that's what history is all about. It is about understanding the world we live in today by exploring the remarkable and sometimes harrowing journeys of those who came before us. Thank you. The wind might be colder now, but gathered round the fire, we find our story in the hearth's embrace. Let the rain fall on the roof up above, for here within this sheltered place, there's warmth and light and life and love. And as the storm rages on outside, let's turn our thoughts to those who walked these lands before us, those who lived, and loved and died and dreamed, whose footsteps echoed on the shore, whose laughter rang out clear and free, whose spirits found solace in the fire's glow, just like you and me. Now, as you rest in the comfort of the present, consider how far we've come. The mills are quiet. Their looms have been replaced by newer tools. The Thames flows cleaner. Its waters a testament to lessons learned. The struggles of the past have shaped the world, you know. A world where the hum of progress continues, but with new challenges and hopes. The echoes of their lives linger still in the stones that mark the passage of time, in the tales that are told and retold, in the songs that are sung, in the hearts that remember. For though the old mill wheel may have ceased to turn, its spirit lives on in the turbines that harness the wind or wave. For though the blast furnaces have fallen silent, their fiery breath now tamed and contained, their purpose lives on in the steel that shapes the world around us. Though the coal that fueled our past is fading from view, its energy lives on in the currents that power our homes and our lives. Though the hands that once toiled in grime and soot have found their rest, their strength lives on in the innovations that bring light to the darkest of nights. And so it is with the people who walked this land before us. Their struggles and triumphs, their hopes and dreams, their very essence. It's all a part of the rich tapestry of life that makes us who we are today. As the storm rages on outside, let the rhythm of the rain and the wind become a lullaby that carries across the years. For in the end, it's not the storms that define us, but the warmth and light that we find in the shelter of shared stories. The comfort of knowing that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. the legacy of those who came before, and the promise of those who will follow. We're almost done. Just a few more moments, then we can finally rest. Oh, that sounded sorry. I don't mean to sound so defeated, but it's been a long day. And now, like a heavy cloak, the night draws near. But before we surrender to its embrace, let's take a moment to pause and reflect. Close your eyes, if you haven't already, and let the weight of the day slip away. The past is behind you. Its lessons are safely tucked into the folds of time. Now let's drift, carried by the soft rhythm of history. We'll flow through the corridors of memory. Each room we pass a testament to moments that have shaped us. Some rooms are filled with echoes of laughter, their corners warmed by the sun's golden glow. Here, our spirits soar, our hearts light with joy. And then there are chambers cloaked in shadows, where echoes of sadness linger, and the air grows thick with unshed tears. These somber rooms, though heavy with grief, hold the quiet strength of resilience. They are the spaces where our determination was forged, tempered by sorrow, but never broken. Each room we visit, each moment we recall, is a thread in the tapestry of our lives. And as we journey deeper into the night, we gather these threads, the good, the bad, and the bittersweet. For it is in the weaving of these disparate moments that the richness of our existence is revealed. Oh, how the tapestry of our lives unfolds, a myriad of colors and textures, a testament to a life well lived. Now let's move forward together into the soft embrace of the night, surrendering to its calming presence. As darkness envelops us, let go of the day's burdens, release them into the waiting arms of the night. And just like that, we find ourselves at the end of the day, our journey almost complete. Now close your eyes, one last time, and let the background fade into the silence. Let the soft hush of the night cradle you, carrying you toward a peaceful rest. Good night. May your dreams be as calm as the journey we've shared, as peaceful as the night that has fallen, and as hopeful as the dawn that awaits us in the distance. Sweet dreams.